The window of opportunity is slowly closing for prospective buyers who have an interest in the multi-billion-dollar Baha property. Good evening, everyone. I'm Keisha Adderley.
And good evening. I'm Charisma Robinson. New details released on Baha negotiations, which could pave the way for work to continue on the stalled project in short order. This revealed by the nation's chief during an interview with Clint Watson in Washington, D.C.
Now, as he also tells us tonight, the Prime Minister talked about significant developments regarding the historic agreement for the people of Grand Bahama. He says based on discussions, the future looks bright.
After months of intensive negotiations, oftentimes stalling, Prime Minister the Right Honorable Perry Christie admits finally there appears to be significant movement regarding Baha. He says as recent as yesterday, the Attorney General, Senator the Honorable Alison Maynard Gibson, and Senior Policy Advisor Sir Baltram Bethel met with the receivers to convey his position.
They are not going to wait on the appointment of new owners or the identification of new owners before construction is resumed. That is, I therefore anticipate that efforts are being made now to finalize when the construction would resume, and that is not going to be long from now.
The Prime Minister says it was conveyed that when he presents his budget communication to the country later this month, he expects to be able to say exactly when construction will reconvene. He also noted that the first phase of the process to identify a buyer ends on the 9th of May.
The bank will then begin the process of determining who of the applicants will in fact be selected moving forward. And you may well know that the applications include expressions of interest from people in the Bahamas as well as from companies in China.
Turning to the Hawksbill Creek Agreement, the Prime Minister expects to announce the new agreement in Parliament next week. It was intended that he would have spoken this past Wednesday, but due to his travels to Washington, it was delayed. Mr. Christie says after extensive discussion between the St. George's and Hayward families, Hutchinson Whampoa, who owns the container port, and Mediterranean Shipping, all key shareholders in the port, he is satisfied with the kind of agreement that has been reached as the way forward. He says the recommendations are fundamental to the existence of a renewed free port, which will lead to advances in greater coordination, regulation, and opportunity.
The container port expansion has been tied to the negotiations because Hutchinson Whampoa and Mediterranean Shipping wanted concessions and put in place for them to make an expansion to phase 5 and phase 6. My government, instead of just taking the usual approach to extending the real property tax and the business license, we instead decided to do so having examined very carefully the entire workings of the port and having put in place, we think, programs and initiatives that will be manifestly in the best interests of Freeport going forward. But we think we have an outcome that will be seen to be in the best interests of the people of Grand Bahama.
The full details are expected to be disclosed when the House of Assembly meets next week. Clint Watson, ZNS Network News.